Hello and welcome back to Ability Assistance. My name is Phyllis Jones and I'm the chair of the North Andover Commission on Ability Assistance.
I'm Stacy Leibowitz and I am the Commission Secretary.
We are joined behind the camera today by fellow Commission member Jeff French, and we've got a couple students from Greater Lawrence Technical School's Graphics Communication Shop again. We got Joshua Robles and Victor Lopez, and our executive producer, Susan Martin of North Andover CAM. And wow, we had such a great first season, didn't we?
Yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah, we decided to come back for a little bit more. So today, we're honored to be joined by members of our emergency preparedness folks. We've got John Woods, our communications supervisor, and we're also here with Johnathan Bonnano from the North Andover Police Department.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having us.
We've spoken a few times.
Yes, yes, we have.
First off, the Columbia gas explosion.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you guys so much. I know everything's still going on in the background and not everything is, you know, absolutely finalized. But
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of things still going on behind the scenes, but you know, most of the stuff has been resolved. All of our residents are back on, thank God. Columbia Gas worked so hard to get that done with all of their affiliates and so forth. But I can't say enough. I was not present during the incident. I was away on vacation. But John Wood, his team did an amazing job in the dispatch center, taking in all of those calls. Almost 200 911 calls during the...
That's amazing. That's amazing.
We just tried to get as much information out as we could, as quick as we could. And like I said, the people that I work with just handled it very well.
Well, we're very grateful
Yeah.
for your service and for reacting in such a quick manner to something so surprising.
Nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah.
All I knew was the area was exploding because you were texting me about it.
Yeah, we saw everything unfold. My husband and I were home. We watched it unfold on TV, and it was probably the most surreal thing. I'm sure it's true for everybody. What we experienced that day was very unsettling. It was terrifying because you really don't know, you know, as it's unfolding, what's going on. So the response from North Andover and the surrounding communities was amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we had such an amazing team of police, firefighters, dispatchers. I can't say enough about the two dispatchers that were in the room that day. We'll give a shout out to those two guys, Mark Gagnon and Jason Puglisi. They were the two dispatchers in there working.
Oh, wow.
Sergeant Katie Gerke was in charge of the shift. She was fantastic.
Is that Officer Katie who used to be at NAMS?
That's possible. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
Didn't mean
she's
to catch you off guard.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, so she's a sergeant. She was officer in charge that night. She did a tremendous job along with her whole crew.
Yep.
And then you can't say enough about what Chief Gray and Deputy Chief Graham Rowe did from the fire department. Chief Gray from the police department, they orchestrated an amazing effort to get people evacuated from those affected areas. Work to help get gas shut off with the teams that were going around. And like I said, dispatch handling those hundreds of calls that were coming in.
And the way you guys also worked with, I mean, I remember seeing Boston police, Chelsea police, I mean, just...
Oh, going up into New Hampshire. I mean, we watched, because I was at the middle school, which we were evacuated to the first time and then moved to the high school. But as we were getting ready to leave, watching kind of almost like a parade of all of the fire departments from the surrounding areas going into New Hampshire, areas of New Hampshire, was amazing. Again, very surreal, but just to see all that teamwork coming together to help
pulling it together as quickly as you did.
Yeah, so we have a plan that's in place for these general fire type incidents that we call our 10 alarm plan. So there's a multitude of surrounding fire departments from Massachusetts. But my hat off to John specifically for orchestrating over 30 departments.
Wow.
Over 30 departments
amazing.
from the state of New Hampshire. John also moonlights as a firefighter in Plastown, New Hampshire.
They can't have you. You're ours.
Well, thank you for your service.
But he was able to orchestrate 30 departments from New Hampshire to come down and assist during this time.
That's amazing.
We had about 50-something departments in town from a fire perspective working right alongside with Columbia Gas and all the police departments. They were assisting from NEMLAC and those things.
Yeah,
So
no.
it was amazing.
It was definitely amazing.
The way people came together to work
And
to
I
help
think
the community.
even for the citizens, I think the way everybody handled it, given the uncertainty, the lack of understanding as to what was actually occurring, that you really see how communities come together in a time of need like that. And I think people overall, I'm sure there was, for me, kind of this low-level panic, but we all kind of pulled together and just did what we had to do for the safety of the community. But I think there were lessons that we learned from this, and I think discussing, okay, this is what happened, and we did what we had to do in the moment. What were some of the lessons? What were some of the things, like having, I know for us, we left with the clothes on our back. We grabbed our dog. That was it.
Emergency medication at
emergency medications,
all
all
we
of
had to
this
get
stuff.
CVS and pajamas and everything.
Exactly. We were away. We were lucky. We were only away for one night, both of us. But we were missing things. So I would ask, what are some of the things you recommend very strongly for families, for people to do to prepare for something like this? Because things like this will happen.
So I think one of the important things that came up along all of this as far as people's emergency preparedness is these emergency go bags that I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes.
There's been some discussion about that. The fire department has done a beautiful presentation of that. Hopefully we'll be able to get that out to social media and show people that.
Get that to me and I'll put it right on our Facebook page.
Jeff DeShane, who is our EMS coordinator, who does an amazing job with that, also put this together with the deputy chief. And basically, it's just a bag that allows you to have your essentials ready to go by the door in case you need to be evacuated in one of these emergency situations. Clothes, some basic toiletries for both you, or, the adults, the children. Maybe a way to move the pets out quickly. Also having medications, a list of medications at least. If you have to have certain medications, obviously have to be up to date and things like that. So if you have them prepared or you have 10 days or so, there's some guidelines that they can provide. And again, the fire department would be the ones that would really want to talk about specifics to this. But it is very important to have one of these to-go bags ready to go for your whole family.
Excuse me. No, because
that's one of the things that came out of this as far as evacuation and preparedness was. But important I think from the town's perspective is that we had recently transitioned to a system called Rave Mobile Safety.
Yes, please talk about that.
And I think that was what allowed us to get messages out to people really quickly in touching upon all of the town's residents, businesses, and those things, letting people know what was going on, just giving them a quick update periodically. I can't say enough about the town's information technologies department here. We have an amazing IT department now.
That's great.
The town brought in Christopher McClure, who's our director of information technologies. He's amazing. He's helped us revolutionize our IT department and really has been real innovative in the town. But he was the one who brought in Rave Mobile Safety along with the town manager.
Really?
Yeah, this was seen over in Methuen and working very successfully. So one of our selectmen was able to recommend this program, and Chris and I did the research and got the program up and running, and it is amazing.
Now, from what I understand, we've got is it the new 911 that you would talk, what was the proper name of that?
Next Gen 911.
Next Gen 911. We've got the Smart 911. And we now have the ability to text 911.
Yes.
Why don't we kind of break that down? I think the best way to start is the Next Gen 911 because of the way it fits into the other two.
Okay, so Next Gen 911 is a new platform the state of Massachusetts is going to, and a lot of other states are going to, for 911 services. As you touched upon, the Next Gen 911 allows you to text. It also gives us a better mapping program. It's using Google Maps to see real-time mapping of residents, neighborhoods, so on and so forth. The GPS information that it can pull off the phones is more accurate, even though we will still confirm where you are to make sure we have the right address, whether you call from a landline or a cell phone. And then which we have, when you call 911, if you're on the Smart 911 program, that also pulls up a secondary screen for us to see information that you've entered into the program that connects to the 911 system.
Okay, and now for the people who don't know, the Smart 911.
Yeah, so Rave Mobile Safety has two components.
Yep.
They basically work together, but they're basically two separate pieces. So one is Rave Alert,
Yep.
which is what replaced the town's old reverse 911 outreach system. And then it's Smart 911. So basically what Smart 911 is it's a user profile that allows people to, at their fingertips, whether it be on the app, which is available on both
Yep.
Android and iPhone, they can go in and create a family profile, a user profile for an individual that has addresses, different phone numbers of contact, ages, medical conditions, so on and so forth,
Yep.
your pets' names, all of these things that can be created. And what that does is when you call 911 from any of the numbers that you have associated with that profile, it comes up right on the dispatcher's screen, and they're able to see all of that information. So they know if there's a medical condition they should be aware of, if there are dogs that they should be aware of, any of these types of things. I'm sure there's hundreds of things we could mention, but if we encourage everyone to go in, create a user profile for their family. And Phyllis, I mean, you can tell us a story about how important it was for you to have a profile. We talked about this earlier.
Exactly, because I had registered the whole family. You know, we got that when the 911 system went down nationwide sporadically. What was that, about a month ago?
Yeah, about a month ago.
About a month ago.
The cell phone services went down completely.
Exactly. I had gotten because I registered my family, my husband, my daughter, and myself, who all have cell phones. We all got a text saying this is what's going on. Not only just call this number, but it was written in such a way, you know, with a typical text thing, where if there was an issue, I could just push the little blue link that you normally get in a text, and I knew what was going on. And, you know, I called the station because I was like, you know, what's this? And, you know, you guys quickly explained to me what was going on.
Yep.
My cell phone, you know, my husband's cell phone, my daughter's cell phone, I'm in Boston, they're in North Andover. They're like, what's going on? I told them, they were okay with it. And then about an hour and a half later is when everybody's cell phones started going nuts at the office.
Yes. Because
the state police finally issued that, I call it an Amber Alert. I know Amber Alert is for children specifically, but that sound that you normally get when there's a situation like that. I had actually reported it to the secretary of the COO of my office to let her know what was going on in case she wanted to put out an email, and they kind of fluffed me off. But
lo and behold, the state sent out a thing, and you had already known about it an hour and a half before.
Exactly, and because my son is very loud noises, you know, bother him because of medical conditions, and he hears, you know, because the kids were home that day, he hears, you know, daddy's cell phone and his sister's cell phone go nutsoid at that point, and everybody was able to talk him down because we knew for an hour and a half what was going on before the state issued that emergency, and it was all because I created a family profile on the Smart 911 system.
Yep. It's so important that not only families, but even businesses at this point, everyone should just go on there and create a profile, because any information that they put there only helps the first responders when they're responding there, whether it's police or fire or EMS response, any information that they could provide, especially if there may be someone with some disabilities, as we talked about, and one of the reasons why we're here. And there's key information to get into the home. A person is, you know, mobility impaired and is unable to get up and let first responders in. We could have key information. We could have lockbox codes. Those types of things. They're very important to have those things built into your profile.
And they're secure, because I know a lot of people, you know, get concerned. I put something on.
That's a great point. It is a 100% extremely secure, firewall protected system that only goes to first responder dispatchers. There's no way to even access this information outside of the activation from the call coming into the 911 center. So we couldn't even go in and look at profiles in the system unless they were designated to us individually.
Okay. Now
that's how locked down
really
it is.
Good to
it's
know.
a very, very secure system. So that's why we encourage everyone make those user profiles.
I mean, I think with businesses too, because of the concerns about, I mean, yes, if there's fire, if there's, I hate to say, some kind of an active situation that happens at a workplace, you hear these things, you know, on the news. knowing where somebody is, knowing what the layout of the building is, all of that information. You have somebody in there with a disability, how do you get them out safely?
Absolutely.
Those are really critical components to have. So I think having this kind of system, you know, it's secure, so people shouldn't be concerned. But I think when you think about those things that you see on TV, and hopefully they're not as, you know, we see what happens in the news, it happens.
Yes.
Being more prepared, that way you have this information ahead of time and you can go in and deal with that very quickly. So it's really an amazing system.
You know, the other thing the system does is every 6 months to a year, you get an email from the system that asks you to go through and make sure that all the information is current.
I haven't gotten to that point yet.
So that way, if things
That's
change,
great.
phone numbers change, whatever, or you do get like a lockbox or something, the system reminds you to update that information.
And that's what I was going to speak about, because you know, you're making or have the ability to make these updates real time.
Yep.
Right.
So you go in and you have your cell phone number changes, your daughter's cell phone number changes, your son's cell phone, whatever it may be. From a business side of things, a manager leaves, or a key holder changes, or a alarm code changes. They can go in and change those things real time. They don't have to call anybody.
Right.
They don't have to do anything. They log into their account, or they log on the application on their smartphone and make those changes real time. And next time, God forbid, they have to go to the 911 center, it's all up-to-date information.
And so online, where do people go to be able to create an account?
So right now, the easiest place to go is to Town of North Andover's website, www.northandoverma.gov.
And they have like a big bullhorn with 911, the
So you
icon.
can't miss it.
I believe it says, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joni, it says "Stay informed." I believe is the icon at the bottom of every page. So no matter where you're navigating through the website, you have access to that little thing that says "Stay informed." You click on that link, you create a user profile, and it walks you right through getting yourself set up.
It was real easy, and I remember then. So I put in the house phone, I put in everybody's emails, I put in my husband's cell phone, I put in my daughter's cell phone, and then it also sent out, it was like an activation code or something to verify that, yes, not only is this the number that I wanted, but, you know, verify that it actually existed, and you know, so I wasn't accidentally putting Stacy's number in, you know, into the system.
Extremely secure. Again, there's, you know, they double or triple authenticate these passwords and things like that. They even tell you whether your password is too weak or that for logging into those profiles. The other thing that I want to mention is that anyone that has trouble, any of our elderly residents or mobility impaired residents, or anybody,
or somebody who's just afraid of technology,
who has difficulty creating a user profile, we encourage those people to find some sort of custodian to help them build a profile, someone that may be able to get notifications.
It's really important.
The police department could assist people with that. The only problem that we run into with that type of stuff is that we want someone that can go in and update information periodically.
Right, that makes sense.
So if they have a daughter, a son, a colleague, a helper, a home health aide, someone that can provide an email address if those people don't have one, that they can get these updates to update that information, that's what we encourage. But again, if someone can't, we can always get someone to John or his staff to help with creating a user profile for someone who can't do it.
Now, some people still have the old-fashioned phones. They don't have availability to apps. But like you said, you can still go on to a regular desktop computer, create everything, and you don't have to have the app on your phone for it to connect.
That's correct. We actually, one of the things we encourage is people to create their user profile on the computer, just because it gives them the larger format. It allows them to sort of see things. A lot of people are doing things by application now, which is fine. It's 100% okay to do that. The account is the same. So
but sometimes it's easier to set it up when you've got the large screen and the whole typewriter.
Absolutely. So either way is fine, and they both go to the same place.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about in terms of the time differential, we've actually got on our Facebook page right now the two screenshots, from my phone itself, of showing, look, this is what time North Andover sent this alert out, this is what time the state police sent their alert out. But I also think it's important for people to know, although this is nationwide, only certain communities participate in it. So
That's correct. Anybody who does, let's put it this way, any country or city or town that's participating in Rave Mobile Safety, if you're in one of those jurisdictions, your profile will pop up on their screens.
okay, so I'm visiting my brother-in-law outside of Phoenix, assuming, of course, his community,
Right.
you know, has it.
Sure.
And, you know, somebody gets bitten by a tarantula, you know, or something like that, and I call 911 from my cell phone, it's going to go
Yes.
to the local people with all the information about the family,
Correct.
and I don't have, which is,
Again, like you said, provided that, let's say this town outside of Phoenix is hosting
Right.
Yep.
Rave Mobile Safety, your user profile, because you're using that cell phone number within jurisdiction, your profile does follow you in that fashion.
and maybe for like the snowbirds, they should contact, they can register
They can
here.
register, yeah, for Florida people or something. yeah.
Exactly, and then verify
Sure.
with their winter location, do you
Absolutely.
participate?
Right. So then
Just-
they're all set.
Exactly, exactly. So we've got the smart 911, we've got the new 911 system that kind of connects it, and then just recently, they said we can text via 911.
So one of the things with the Next Gen 911 allows the dispatch centers to get text messages. So that way, this day and age, a lot of people use text messages as opposed to calling it on the phone. So you could text in an emergency to us, and we would talk to you, you know, through text messages. If you were to text in, let's say texting was down in North Andover or
Yeah.
something, you would get a bounce back message that says texting is down, please dial 911.
Okay,
One of the things that we would ask is that, let's say for instance, a loved one's having a heart attack. We would
Yeah.
ask that you would still call on the phone, but obviously if texting is what works for you, then definitely text it in. But if you're in a situation where somebody has, say, broken into your house and you don't want to make any noise, absolutely text us and we will get help forthwith.
yeah, and it'll be the safer way to do it that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people use shorthand on their texts.
We would ask that if you're text messaging that you use very plain language, that you try to use as you would say shorthand, as little as possible, just because the person that is reading your text messages may not understand what it is you're trying to communicate, which could delay a response.
Yeah, no emojis, no
Yeah,
shorthand.
no emojis, no NP for no problem,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
you know, LMK. Let me, you know, these
Yeah.
types of things. We don't want to see that on the text. It's not going to be fluid. And just a couple points to add to John's texting by 911. So we would encourage any type of medical call in for a medical issue. If John mentioned a heart attack, we provide emergency medical dispatch
Yep.
instructions with every medical call that comes in. It'll be very difficult to provide those instructions through a text. So if you have the capability of making a phone call, because you're not in a dangerous situation where you can't be heard speaking, let's say, we would encourage that you make that phone call over the texting. The texting would be an alternate option for someone who is trying to relay an emergency but can't speak.
The old-fashioned, it was an E911 that you want us to wait for you guys.
The old-fashioned,
yeah.
silent call
Yes,
procedure
yes.
was we receive the 911 call. The call is silent. We try a couple of things. We try TTY for the hearing impaired.
Yep.
Right.
And we do a segment of that. And if that's not the case, we say to people, press 1 if you need press 1 if you need police, 2 for fire, 3 for EMS or medical. And then we can identify what number these people are pressing because it's coming up on the screen. And we used to call that our silent call procedure, which we still follow to a certain extent. But again, with text to 911, that sort of changes the game now.
Right.
So people can actually text these things in, but again, they should text for the reason that they can't be heard speaking,
Right.
or they're hiding. Someone, you know, they hear someone break into the house, they're hiding under the bed, they're hiding in a closet, they have their phone. instead of calling in the chance of this person hearing something,
Right, right.
we can send
Texting is
Yeah.
we can
perfect
send a
for
little
that,
text
right.
message.
You know, for people that are hearing impaired, texting is actually very good because
Yes.
I've recently spoken to one person that is hearing impaired, and they don't use TTY. They communicate through text.
Right.
So texting actually allows the hearing impaired community to communicate with 911 a lot easier and
Than
efficiently
TTY,
as well.
yeah, because
Very good
TTY
point.
is a little bit of an older system at this
Yes.
point, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And so for somebody, as long as they're identifying that they might be hearing impaired, so that makes it a little bit easier for you folks to address that. It's a really seamless way to go.
And not every, there are different levels. I'm going to use the term partially deaf because I do have a friend and she gets upset when we use hearing impaired.
Okay, okay.
So out of respect for her, there are different levels of people
Right,
who
right.
have, you know, deafness or are unable to hear completely. So, you know, where they might be able to communicate effectively.
Sure.
You know, but I know some people, they do talk and use a combination of sign language, which obviously is not easy to do unless you can FaceTime in, which kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Right.
But but to utilize the different versions of the 911 system, because the whole point is to get you there,
Right.
Exactly.
and to get you there 5 minutes before you wanted to have them be there to begin with.
Yep.
But having this gives you the options.
Yeah.
Right.
So that we probably didn't have before. Because I think of somebody who may have a domestic violence situation, it's the same thing.
Yes.
We're texting, you know, or if they have to talk, hey, I'm ordering a pizza, but really there's something else going on
Right.
here,
Yeah.
that type of thing. I
Yeah,
may have,
sure.
Situation like that would make it a lot easier. They could text into us
Yep.
without hopefully the other person knowing what's going on.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So
You know,
having those multiple options, as long as, like you said, they're not kind of doing the shorthand thing, because it can be confusing. So, you know, write it out, be as concise as you can within a safe situation.
And
so.
the kids should be aware that they shouldn't use it as a prank.
They should not use it as a
yes,
prank.
yes, that's critical.
Another
Yeah.
good thing to point out about 911 system and next gen 911 now, over the old emergency 911 or E911 system now called next gen, and as cell phone technology increases and moves on, being able to pinpoint locations of where those calls are coming from. With the old system, depending on the technology that your cell phone had, you were being picked up by the tower that you were bouncing
Right,
off of. So it
right.
could have been 30 miles away.
Yes.
It could have been 2 miles away. Now, the next-gen software has the ability of picking up that cell phone's location within 5 meters.
Wow.
That's
Even
amazing.
the older ones?
That's amazing.
Some of the older ones, the technology doesn't exist to allow that pinpointing, but the dispatchers have the ability of seeing what type of technology that cell phone is that's coming in.
Okay, so if I have a flip phone versus the latest iPhone type
If you
of
have
a
like
thing,
the latest iPhone now,
you're all set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or the latest Android, or
Yep.
let's just say something within the last 4 or 5 years,
You should be set.
you should be really set to, when you call 911, the dispatch center is actually going to be, it's going to pinpoint a real-time map
Oh, wow.
and dot location of where you are.
great.
So not only does dispatcher get that Google Earth perspective of where you are, but they also get all that information on the screen before they've even verified it with you. Now, we always verify.
Yeah.
So that's one
Just to
thing.
be on the safe
People
side.
should always
Right.
know that we're always, even though we can tell where they are, we're always going to verify, because there could be something
Right,
wrong with that
right.
system.
Right.
So we're always going to
It
verify.
makes sense.
Especially like with the landlines too. I mean, I know a lot of people think that with the landlines, because you register a phone number, we know exactly where you are. But we've taken calls where people have moved from North Andover to Florida, California,
Right.
and they don't change the address. So when they call 911, it still comes to their old address here, but they're on the other side of the country. So
Right.
whenever a call comes in, we always make sure we know where you are first.
That makes
before-
complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have discrepancy forms that we fill out if something like that happens, so we're able to rectify those things. But we would go out on a limb to say, about probably 90% of your landlines that are coming in, we're pinpointing an exact location. Cell phones is a variable. But recently we've changed where we're now accepting in the dispatch center in the town of North Andover, 35% of our wireless calls. They're not going to a regional center to be answered first.
Right.
Some of them are. There's still 2 regional centers within the state of Massachusetts where the bulk
Where are
of,
those?
there's still one in Framingham.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's one
Right.
in Middleton, Mass.
Middleton,
at the regional dispatch center in Middleton, which is next to the Middleton Jail off of Route 62.
Okay.
So the other percentage of calls, the other 65% of calls is going to those 2 regional centers. They'll answer the call, find out the jurisdiction of where the call is being originated from, and they'll send it off. 35% of those calls are coming into us, direct.
And the point of being able to get that, to be on that direct line, is to make sure that you're registered with the Smart 911 system? And
No, it's...
Or is it going to happen regardless?
It's going to happen regardless. So it's
Yep.
it's kind of how it comes into the tower. So when you call, it goes to a cell tower. Cell tower is grabbing your GPS information. If it can grab it fast enough and knows that you're in North Andover, it's going to come to us. If the cell tower has any questions to where you are, it's going to go to a regional point.
Okay.
So as technology improves, we would
It'll-
start to get more
yeah.
calls to North Andover.
So, and just to kind of clarify, so those things are all specific to Next Gen 911, and then the Rave mobile safety components are 2 separate pieces, a totally different company that interacts with the Next Gen 911.
But it's still all
But it all
together.
meshes.
It all meshes
It all
together.
meshes
That's great.
together with those user profiles we want people to create.
And like I said, we had a real-time situation about a month ago
Yeah.
where, you know, I had created mine. Stacy hadn't created hers yet.
Not quite yet. Sorry, it's been
I
a little
won't
bit busy.
let her live
But
that
no,
one
it's
down.
it's something I definitely need to do in the light of everything. I do have my go bag though, so at least I have that. But
Good.
but no, it's definitely essential, and it's something that, I mean, I have a younger sister who's also developmentally challenged. She lives in a separate community, so I have to see even if that community is connected. But thinking about that in a bigger picture for yourself, for your family, it definitely makes
Yeah.
the most sense.
No,
Absolutely.
To get
especially, you know, like if my son or daughter are calling 911, you know, because from the landline type of a thing, or anywhere, because we have the system set up,
Sure.
they can, you know,
exactly.
they might not be able to say, Mommy fell and needs help, but, you know, you can communicate more effectively with the child, or
Sure.
at least know some more information.
and be able to pinpoint a
yeah.
location.
But
as well as
what you
possible.
brought up about with the texting, in case you have a domestic violence situation, I think
That's
that's
the safest thing you could probably
That's
do
a
at that
key.
point.
That's a key example right there
Yeah.
of something that would encourage text to 911
Yeah.
usage. Like I
because the
said,
kids in the background might know what's going on and they can text it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
It's
would
the
be
safest.
important.
It has to be the safest way to go, and having that option when you know there's a threat right
yes.
in front of you, or
absolutely.
somebody
Yeah.
breaking in, that's when it's most appropriate, obviously.
Right.
But we also understand that, you know, just because it's convenient doesn't necessarily
Necessarily
mean
mean
it's
it's
the
the
best. So if you are dealing with a situation where it's more medical or something else, then yes, obviously,
the
as you've said,
encouragement,
make
yeah.
the call.
and we would, the encouragement to call in for medicals, we can't say that enough.
Yeah.
Just because we can provide so much more information
Yep.
to you while the EMS units are responding to you.
Exactly.
It would just be so much beneficial if people would differentiate between those things on the texting.
Yeah, no, because my son, it was 2 years ago that my son had to be, you know, he ended up being airlifted from Lawrence to Boston. I can laugh about it now because it was so long ago, but I mean, the 10 minutes, if even, it took you guys to get to the house, you were at least able to communicate, you know, is he breathing? What does he look like? Is he in a safe place? Did you remove everything around? Because he had collapsed into a full grand mal seizure out of nowhere.
Right.
You know, and you're able to at least get some information so that when you guys ran through the door,
Yeah.
you knew what was going on.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
there are several conditions that we can assist with. We have cards that are developed by our medical director from Lawrence General Hospital, our EMS coordinator, Jeff Deschaines from the fire department, and John and myself. And those cards are standard for each different medical condition. A lot of these things we can walk people through a lot of different things that they can do to help that person while they're responding. Even as much as we've done, unfortunately, we've had to do CPR on several calls, but that has started that process.
Right.
Because 5 minutes can make a difference.
Right.
Absolutely.
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 Well, I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for coming back again. You know, you had mentioned that there might be some tutorials about the system. You might be able to get some links up on there.
Yep, I'd love to get you some links for Rave
Yep.
Mobile Safety. I'd like to get at least a list from the fire department of something we can post on social media of all of those items that would be essential to have in your go bags. Information about changing out your smoke detectors and your carbon monoxide detectors, those important pieces, time frames on that stuff.
And just so you gentlemen are aware, I've been working very closely with Chris in the IT department, you know, and kind of feeding information back and forth, and he's been great. So, you know, getting it to either one of us, you know, and that just feeds it town-wide, because, you know, or even the texting. The police department texting, not texting, excuse me, twittering yet? Tweeting?
Oh, yeah.
Tweeting,
Yep.
yeah.
Tweeting, tweeting.
We have a Twitter and Facebook page. We do a little bit on Instagram.
Very social media savvy.
Yeah, we are very social media savvy. We have a lot of different things that we post regularly from our animal control department, traffic, operations, different things like that. We're always posting different things on Twitter and Facebook.
And especially for the younger people who are, you
absolutely,
know, you know, my daughter's on Snapchat more than anything else. I still don't understand what that is.
No, I've never used that one.
We don't have any affiliation with Snapchat yet, but I don't know,
you're
could be down the
getting
road,
to
you never know.
everybody via pretty much every single
But
name.
yeah, for the general, you know, social media platforms, if somebody's more comfortable this way than that way, it's there are options.
Absolutely,
and that's
sure is.
That's what's most important. But again, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming back.
Oh, it was our
We
pleasure.
really appreciate
You know,
it. This information is just invaluable for the public.
Yes, because we can't figure out how to get it out there enough.
Right. And I think if I was to just say one more thing that would be the two to-goes from this whole segment is get your to-go bags ready to go, have that stuff ready, look out on the website, we'll get a list of that stuff, and create your user profiles on Rave Mobile Safety at the bottom of every page on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. It's so important.
Yes, and the town's website just has a plethora of information. It's not, you know, if you need it, it's pretty much there.
Yep.
And it's not that hard to find it.
And if there's something that someone thinks that we should have there, contact us at the police department, me specifically, the IT department, Chris McClure, can't say enough about him.
No, he's fantastic.
Any link or thing that we believe should be on the website, we'll get it up there.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That's great.
Thank you again to John Wood from our communications supervisor and Director Johnathan Bonnano from the North Andover Police Department.
And thank you to our volunteer crew from Greater Lawrence Technical School's Graphic Communication Shop, Joshua Robles and Victor Lopez. Please join us next month when our guest will be a representative of Class Incorporated in Lawrence. They provide disability services to individuals over the age of 22.
And if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can contact us by calling Town Hall at 978-688-9500.
You can also follow us on our Facebook page at Commission on Disability Issues, NAND.
And until next month, take care and thank you.
Thank you so much.